Live, where news comes first. This is ABC7 Extra.
And it is Sunday, January 15th. Welcome to ABC7 Extra. Good evening. I'm Stephanie Guadian. For the next half hour, we're going to be talking about El Paso's downtown arena and where it will be located. In a stunning reversal at this week's City Council meeting, representatives voted 4-3 to put the Duranguito area, removed as a possible location, back on the table as an option. The council approved a study that will look at areas within a 1,000-foot radius around the downtown convention center, including the convention center itself as a potential site. The meeting was at times emotional and heated. The El Paso Chamber of Commerce letting the council know they think the convention center location would be a big mistake.
It's going to be the world's smallest arena to fit on the convention center site. This is crazy.
That's the key. Study involve you and the rest of the community, so there is no misunderstanding. There is no one that doesn't understand what's going on. That's all we're asking. And there's nothing wrong with studying and involving, because you're right, at the end of the day, we're all going to go.
I agree.
It doesn't work.
I agree, but it's been studied since 2011 as a minor.
Okay.
We want to hear from you tonight. You can email us your comments and your questions right now to abc7extra@kvia.com. You can also reach us by calling 915-496-1771, and you can always tweet me at @Guadian ABC7. Just remember to use the hashtag ABC7Extra so we can find you. Well, reaction to the Duranguito area again being considered as a possible site, that depends on who you talk to. Some who rent are worried they won't be able to afford rent elsewhere, but many of the property owners are ready to do business with the city. That's Scooby guarding the Duranguito home Emily Gardea has rented for 15 years. She was relieved to find out the city of El Paso was no longer planning to build an arena where her neighborhood now stands, a decision city representatives just reversed.
Well, it's pretty confusing.
Emily is among the 50 or so people who will have to move if the city chooses the Duranguito site. Most renters we talk to, like Emily, do not want to move. On the flip side, some property owners like Guillermo Garcia, who spoke at this week's City Council meeting, are anxious to sell.
Are you a resident of Duranguito?
I'm the property owner.
You're the property owner?
Yes.
Thank you.
Dinero. Okay, thank you.
There, everybody. Yeah, and I'm throwing Spanish phrases out there. It's not going to also change.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
Thank you, Mr.
These
Garcia.
people
Thank you.
do want help from
Mr. Garcia, thank you, sir.
Garcia claims most of the people holding signs protesting the arena being built in the Duranguito neighborhood don't even live there. The convention center is also being considered as an arena site, but representatives say they will need a lot more information before making a final decision.
We still don't know whether the arena fits in the convention center site, how it's going to fit. We don't know whether it can be built up, whether it's structurally sound that we can do that without disrupting the convention center. What is the cost to that?
Money is also on Emily's mind. She says she pays $350 a month for the home she rents with a yard for her 2 dogs. A good price, but that still takes up too big of a chunk of her Social Security check. All she can do now is wait, knowing her landlord has already made up his mind.
He wants to sell. He's been trying to sell for over 3 years.
Now, following that meeting, there have been some questions as whether Mr. Garcia is an actual property owner or maybe just represents one. Now, my guests tonight are District 5 Representative Michael Ngo and District 7 Representative Lily Limon. I want to thank you both very much for being with us tonight. I want to start with you. Why did we have to take this vote? You brought it forward.
Why did we have to take it? Well, I brought it forward, so we had to take it, but why did I bring it forward was because I was doing my job. I was keeping the promise that I have with the people that elected me to watch every cent that they send me. They pay taxes and they expect us to spend it responsibly and to throw money away so easily, like so many people in politics seem to be able to do. I couldn't just stand there and not say something, so I had to.
And by how much money are we talking about? This was the
tens of millions potentially. I mean, easily. And I just couldn't sit there and say, you know what, it is a big deal. People are paying taxes out there and they expect us to be responsible with it. You don't just change your mind when you've got the perfect spot located And the perfect spot being the best that we can come up with the limitations that we have. We were limited to downtown, and so we have to find a place downtown. There's no place downtown that you're not going to displace something unless it's city-owned property and nothing else. We've been through that before with City Hall. That didn't go over well either. So you look for the place that's going to be the least intrusive, the least expensive, and the most successful for the future of the project that you're trying to do.
And the city's already spent more than $1 million studying potential sites.
Several million, and of that, I mean, site-specific though, at least $1 million would just be literally thrown away. And then if it's moved from that site, that's where you could potentially lose tens of millions of dollars.
Okay, and in your mind, the Duranguito site is still the best option for the city?
It's the best option that we have. It's not the ideal place for it. I mean, what I'm saying is we're limited to downtown, and there's no place downtown that's not going to cause some problems.
Okay,
so
Lily.
we look for the area with the least amount of problems.
You were very frustrated at this last city council meeting. Can you tell us about that?
Well, first and foremost, it's a sense of civility, decorum, and respect. This particular item is located in District 8, and our representative for that district was not able to be there. And so offering the courtesy for her to have a voice, I thought was very, very disrespectful. And so that brought on a sense of frustration, which then turned this whole thing upside down. We've already made a decision. We had voted that Duranguito was off the book. People were relieved. People were happy. And we knew that from the beginning, from the beginning, the mayor said no eminent domain. As long as there was one property owner that held out, we would not use eminent domain. So why are we going back? And I said it best. Probably the greatest definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different result. Ultimately, we're going to come right back to this item, and eminent domain, with the mayor's vote, is going to turn that out. That's why it was important that we look in other areas, and there are other areas. By God, there certainly are. You know, we've talked about the Civic Center, the Convention Center area. That needs to be reviewed. And then there's another parcel of land with a potential when you look at this footprint. But now, after all the reviews that we've done, we've been told it must be within the 1,000 foot, and that's not true. That is not true.
Why do you say that?
And because I've asked the city manager, along with our lobbyist, Snapper Carr, who gave me the description, and no, it does not have to be within the 1,000 foot. If we put it within the 1,000 foot, we may be able to recover additional money. The whole focus of this and the 1,000 foot is a convention hotel. But we were led to believe that the arena had to be part of this, and that's not true.
Is that what you were led to believe?
You know, what you're saying about the 1,000 feet is not true. If you put it within 1,000 feet, it's not may be able to. That's our comfort zone is within 1,000 feet, and that's because that's how the legislation is set up for the hotel. So they understand that within 1,000 feet, they consider that part of the project. You go outside of that, and then you're in uncharted territory. You may not get that money, and that's why we're trying to make sure that we get it within that 1,000 feet so that we can get that money to help fund the arena and save the taxpayers millions of dollars. Those are dollars that they will not have to spend, but you go outside of that, then the taxpayer will need to spend it.
Okay, a lot of people already calling in. They want to, leave their 2 cents. Let's go ahead and listen to the first caller.
I just don't understand why the city is so worried about its image. I mean, they need to fix the streets around here. I graduated from El Paso High in 1992, and some of the streets around that neighborhood still look the same when I was going to school. They need to prioritize and think about what's important for the city, and an arena is not one of them.
Well, all right, thank you very much for your call, but this was a voter-approved arena.
You've got a constituent that is complaining that we're not spending the money right, and yet here we are literally throwing $1 million away easily and potentially tens of millions of dollars.
But if you really look at this case, remember that the quality of life project had the arena coming in at the very end of it. Okay,
it was moved up,
and it was
save
moved,
the
and it was
taxpayer
moved up. But in reality, the things that were more important were precisely what this gentleman's talking about: the real quality of life projects. Those things that when you open your front door, you step outside. It's your sidewalks, it's your streets. That's quality of life. And so we've invested in a lot of those projects right now. But he's very, very accurate, because this whole bond project was put together. We look at the arena right now, and if we don't have an arena that's 15,000 seater or more, we're duplicating efforts. And so, yeah, it's a voter approved 70% by those that voted, not the entire population of the city, merely by those that voted. But are we really doing a justice to this community by building, say, another Don Haskins Center? I don't think we are.
Okay, I want to play a little bit of an interview that we have, or actually something from the City Council meeting from Carl Robinson. He addressed the council and also the audience members, and he was talking about transparency and why it's so important. Let's listen in.
The community demands transparency in inclusion and in public engagement and development. It is a concern that $1.7 million was already spent on the project. However, the public has not been given a clear cost breakdown.
Sometimes what's said out here and what's said back there and what's said in other places, that some attend and some not invited, it's not the same.
So the woman who spoke right before Carl Robinson, she was a member of the audience who got up and spoke to the council members. I believe Mr. Robinson was speaking about those meetings with certain city council members that happened before Duranguito, the vote to take it off of the table. Lily, can you tell me a little bit about that? How did that happen?
Well, but I'm not sure that that's really what he's saying. What he was saying is what is said here and what is said back there, and he's referring to executive session.
Yeah, but
so we had the executive session, but then he did not come out and vote. He didn't want to take part of it. And excluding yourself from a critical vote is not really working for your constituents that voted for you. So that, now, my meeting, I met with representatives from Duranguito. Yes, I did. Just like we are responsible and are supposed to do. We're supposed to meet with our constituents. At no time ever were there 5 of us involved in any kind of a meeting. Never were.
Did you make sure of that?
I sure did, yes. There were never 5 of us at any time in any meeting.
How did you make sure that there weren't 5?
Because I can count.
So
Simple.
people were coming in and leaving
people
to make sure.
When we had a discussion, there were never 5 people or even 5 people involved. And you're referring to the second meeting, 5 people were never involved in the discussion.
Okay, well, I do think Robinson was also referring to, he said meetings that some of us were invited to and some of us were not.
Stephanie, I think that that's a very accurate statement. If you go back historically, you will see cases where, as representatives, we feel that indeed there have been walking quorums. I'll show you an example. When the decision to demolish City Hall, there was very, very much an in-group and an out-group. Whenever there was a talk of a so-called market analysis, there was an in-group and there was an out-group. Carl and I were certainly out of that group. So yeah, and it just depends on people going around talking to each other in the doors. You can see it at City Hall. So yeah.
Okay, so I got to take a quick break, but when I get back, I want to ask you how you felt about not being invited to those meetings that took place before the vote to take Duranguito off the table. We'll be right back. And welcome back. I was just about to ask you how you felt about not being invited to those meetings that took place before Duranguito was taken off the table.
Well, after the fact, I feel pretty happy that I wasn't invited because it did raise quite a few eyebrows. You know, what was most disappointing to me was it did feel like a decision had been made. When I was there that morning at City Council and they were coming up to the podium, there was one gentleman that even said, you know, I'm a little bit confused. I thought we had a deal. You know, it's like, well, this whole proposition of putting it at the convention center and building on it, destroying the convention center and rebuilding it, had never been vetted at the dais at all. So I was a little bit confused and a little bit concerned too, because of some of the concern with legal about those meetings. So I wasn't really sure if I wanted to be involved in what was going on at that point until I found out really what had happened. Because none of us really knew exactly what had happened. We had to go back and find out from the news reports, you know, exactly what was documented. And then, you know, you kind of think of the people that were there. There is at least one that I would never think that would do that on purpose, but could it have accidentally gotten drawn into a walking quorum? Potentially so. I don't know.
Okay, let's go ahead. We have some more callers. Let's go ahead and hear from the next caller.
Yeah, just have a suggestion. Why does this arena have to be built downtown? You know, we have Escalante. You know, Western Plainland is no longer there. There's a lot of land that can be used, and an awesome event center could be made there. And, you know, you don't have to throw anything down. It'd be at a lesser cost, and you could build this awesome arena. And I know they want the money supposedly for building it downtown and getting the tax breaks, but I don't know. I see Escalante, if you could use that for a better use and make this awesome event center there.
Okay, so explain for us a little bit about
Escalante would be a tough one. Okay. Number one, it's not ours. Number two, it's a park. It's the people's park. I think that a lot of people would be a little bit upset with us going in and taking away part of it. It's already been chopped up a little bit in the past. You know, then there's Cohen Stadium, and there are other places, legitimately other places that an arena could go and be successful. But if you're going to build it with taxpayer money, I'm looking at trying to build it the most efficient way we can and make sure that it produces the most beneficial effects to the city. And if you want to do that, you need it near the convention center, and you want to get other people to pay it instead of your taxpayers. And we can do that by putting it near this convention center within 1,000 feet. We're pretty much guaranteed to be able to pay that with the tax rebates that we're getting back from the state. This is not uncharted territory in there. It's been done before. It's been done before by our own city manager. He's very familiar with this.
Okay, the city attorney, however, did talk about uncharted waters during this last council meeting, and she was speaking to what if the convention center for a period of time was shut down for construction.
I think that's very clear in the legislation that if there's no convention center, then the whole thing is moot. Yeah. So the hotel that goes up for it, if it goes up before the convention center is built, then by the time the convention center is built, and you can't even use it to help fund the hotel. That was the whole purpose of doing it, to build a hotel to help allow the convention center to bring in larger conventions. If it's already in place, you can't go back in time and say, okay, we're gonna make that retroactive and let you pay for that one as well, even though it's already built before your convention center was built. They don't allow that.
We do have some sound from Sylvia Firth. Can we go ahead and play that for the city attorney?
It's going to be the world's smallest arena to fit on the convention center site. This is crazy.
That's the key. Study, involve you and the rest of the community so there is no misunderstanding. There is no one that doesn't understand what's going on. That's all we're asking.
We've had some discussions with legal counsel that has done these agreements with other cities, and also they've done some preliminary discussions with the comptroller's office, and we will actually be in uncharted water, and there's a substantial risk that we would lose it.
And back, Lily, you were making the point that you don't want the convention center to be shut down.
That was never the discussion, or to raise it. In reality, the whole thing of this incentive project, as Senator Rodriguez clearly stated in the Inc. article today, it was in reference to a convention hotel. We're now trying to place an arena in this area, and it's really about the convention hotel. When we start talking about, oh, we're going to have bigger and greater conventions, we don't have the capability to have bigger and better conventions with the facility that we have. Quite frankly, if we were able to build the arena to capture the convention center, leave it open, but then be able to have funding to make it a bigger convention center, now we're talking truly about being in the best interest of the taxpayers and using our money wisely. That's where it would come about.
Okay, for those of you who haven't read that article in the El Paso Inc., I'm going to read part of it as soon as we come back from a break. And welcome back. The El Paso Inc. is reporting the arena may not need to be within the 1,000 feet of the convention center. In an article by David Crowder, he reports Kevin Lyons, a spokesperson with the Comptroller of Public Accounts in Austin, said participation in the state's incentive program depends on two things. First, having one or more large convention hotels, not an arena, near a convention center. And second, the city having an ownership stake in at least one hotel.
That's exactly correct. The arena itself, you don't even have to have, period. We'll still get the rebates from the state. The point is, we're going to have an arena. The voters did vote for that. If we're going to build it, and it has to be built downtown, and there's a way to build it using those tax rebates to help fund it, that's what I'm pushing for. Okay. But seriously, just to get those rebates, no, you do not have to have an arena. The arena was just another thing that we're going to have in that area, so why not allow that rebate money to pay for it as well, or at least a good part of it.
Get more bang for your buck.
Exactly. So that it does get the seats that she's talking about to make us a true venue for bigger events.
Okay, let's go ahead and listen to one more caller.
My name is Dan Wright. I'd like to know why we are limited to putting it downtown when there are so many other areas in town, and the parking is already crowded down there.
Okay, Lily, before the show, you said Cohen Stadium. Would that be your pick?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If I were asked where it should be, I would certainly pick Cohen Stadium, city-owned property. Easy on, easy off, major transportation corridor, just really the best place for it to be, and that's where I would have thought. Unfortunately, a previous council made a decision that now we're paying for, and that was to place it in the downtown area.
Okay, tell me about what's in your hand there.
Well, interesting, because where do we go from here? You know, where do we go from here? We had a decision. Once the mayor said no eminent domain, we had the true owners of the property come forth and say, I am not selling, then that automatically told us we need to get back into discussion. We need to start reviewing, and that's the opportunity that we had prior to this of bringing the business owners, bringing Duranguito, bringing the everybody in, and being able to sit down.
And that's not exactly true.
That was overruled.
Well, because we haven't been able to talk to all of the people.
That was overruled.
So when they say that we've got people who are not going to sell, there are people that we haven't even been allowed to speak to.
And the reason we haven't spoken to them is because
assuming a whole lot of stuff.
They've said, Romelia Mendoza has stood before City Council. I know you weren't there at one of the meetings, but she has stood there at 2 meetings and clearly stated, I am a property owner and I'm not selling. So that's a given. So where do we go from here? We go from here that we're back to square one. I think what has been, what should be a real big factor in all of this is that the Paso del Sur has initiated a citywide citizens initiative referendum to defend Barrio Duranguito from demolition and displacement. And they're going to begin the process of a petition the city to pass and enact an ordinance. And so they're serious about this. I mean, they've really been trashed. I mean, it's horrible what's happened to the community there. And so now we have another aspect that we need to look at. I look forward to the opportunity to sit down with everyone, and the mayor is going to potentially do that. Open the door and say, let's all sit down, because we need to be respectful of people. We cannot go around demolishing people's homes just for a venue that's going to be an entertainment. Yeah, we represent our constituents and they all pay taxes. We're very clear of that. but there has to be a human element and a social conscience in the work that we do in the city.
Michael, let me ask you, what happens, though, the longer we wait to get this project done? What is the impact?
The taxpayers will pay more money. There is an increase in cost in construction every year. And so we have a fixed fund. And so if the cost of construction increases, then the only money that we have is that one amount, then the amount that you're going to be able to build shrinks, and you're going to get a smaller and smaller and smaller venue the longer you wait.
But the long run is that arena was at the end of the quality of life. The council decided the order of those projects, and obviously the arena was not as important.
We did not change order, we just moved everything up to take advantage of current interest rates to save taxpayer money.
Final thoughts. We're running out of time, so go ahead, Lily, final thoughts.
Final thought is my word to the community is to stand firm, stand strong. I think that citywide there is an incredible amount of support for the people of Duranguito. We're not done really evaluating all of the areas in downtown. You know what? If we made a mistake in a selection process because we were misinformed, then we need to correct it for the good of our community and for our citizens.
Okay. Before I get your final thoughts, Michael, I want to go ahead and take one more call. Go ahead, caller.
Hi, my name is Christy, and I'd like to say, if this arena was voter approved, but we didn't think there was going to be such a big hassle, such a big controversy over this thing. Now they want to displace a bunch of property owners. It's not worth it. Maybe we just don't want it anymore.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Let's take another vote, and it's not. We don't need the arena.
Thank you very much for calling. I've actually spent some time in the neighborhood. There does seem to be more renters than property owners.
Right, the property owners do want to sell. We haven't had any property owners turn us down yet, but we haven't been able to talk to every property owner. There's some property owners that have been walled off by the people that are trying to protect the neighborhood. And honestly, I don't believe they're trying to protect the people at all. It's the buildings. They're very concerned about the history of the buildings and things like that. And I'll respect that as well. And for that, they're willing to try to keep those people living in those buildings and not even give them a chance for a better home.
What about that? I mean, if you get your way, are you maybe just buying these people time? You know, what's not to say in 5 or 10 years another developer could come into that area and not offer them a deal as good as the city is offering?
You know, the gentrification is certainly a critical issue that we need to discuss. But I'm sure that with such a taxpayer consciousness that has been exhibited tonight, I doubt that we would get to the point of really offering them as lucrative offers as have been stated. The whole point is that there's 3 property owners that have not agreed to sell. 1 has definitely said no. 2 are in limbo, but all it takes is 1, folks. 1 property owner.
Final thought.
We'll see how it goes. It will be with some opposition like any site downtown will have, and that's the point. There will be no arena built downtown without opposition. So I'm just trying to make it as smooth as possible and save the taxpayers as much money as possible. That was my job when I got elected for this, and I'm going to continue to do that. It wasn't just tonight. I've done it for the last 6 years.
Okay.
So be on the lookout for a property site that will not displace homeowners.
All right.
It will be out there.
This story is certainly not over. We'll continue to cover it. I want to thank you again, Lily Limon, Michael No, for being our guests on this Sunday night. And we want to thank you for watching ABC 7 Extra. Have a great night and a great week ahead.